Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank all three of our witnesses for their dedicating their lives to securing our nation. Secretary Austin told us, along with nearly every witness who's come before this committee, China is our pacing threat. It's a global, long-term competition, and it's across every arena of the national power, but the military balance of power concerns me most. In 2018, the National Defense Strategy gave us a blueprint for pushing back on China. The bipartisan NDS Commission said that 3 to 5% real growth was needed to implement that strategy. It didn't look like we're going to get that. Since then, the threats have gotten worse. The administration gave us a budget that cuts spending when we need real growth. They want the military to do more on climate change and pandemic response, more mission, but with fewer resources. We've been asking our military to do too much with too little for too long. President Biden's budget cuts would make it even harder. It barely treads water while we face all these threats. This budget cuts ships, aircraft, munitions, and more. We have nearly $25 billion of unfunded priorities. These aren't wish lists. These are risk lists. The budget cuts aircraft procurement by 20%, backslides on Army readiness, and starves Navy shipbuilding. This budget forces our military leaders to choose between being ready for today's fight or the fight of the future. But the Chinese military leaders, they're not making that choice. On Tuesday, I read in the press about the memo by Acting Secretary of the Navy on the next year's budget. He says the Navy must choose between modernizing ships, subs, and aircraft. Does anyone think that the Chinese have to make that decision? The Chinese defense budget has grown by 450% since 2001. They added $200 billion in the last decade, while we cut $400 billion. So we're behind in some of the areas and we're falling behind in some of the other areas. And as a result, I'm worried deterrence will fail, maybe today or 5 years or 10 years. And when it does, the cost will be much higher than any investment we could be making today to prevent that. And we're not making hard choices. We're making bad choices and short-sighted choices. The administration tells us that the Pentagon budget is cut because of fiscal realities, but they're spending trillions of taxpayer dollars on everything else under the sun. We all agree that even the administration agrees that a strong military improves all other tools of national power. I just can't understand this short-sighted underfunding of our troops. We make sacred compact with our service members. We tell them we'll take care of them and their families, and we do that very well. We also tell them that we'll give them the tools that are necessary to defend the nation and to come home safely. But we're not holding up our end of the bargain. With this proposed budget, we're failing to give them the resources they need to implement that strategy. And, Mr. Chairman, we need to do better. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.